Hey everybody, it's your pal Drew. I'm going to cover this very short-lived and kind of fun book called Vengeance Squad, which was published in the mid '70s for a whole 6 issues. It didn't last very long, but it's got some interesting pedigree to it. First of all, the first issue is done by Frank Boll, Bolle. If you in comics, you might know him he did a inking job over Sal Buscema in the Avengers Defenders War. I think it was Defenders 10 or something like that, with Thor versus Hulk. And so he did the initial one. And some real nice, exciting stuff. I mean, it's clear, it's neat, and it's not many Charlton comics are gonna make your pulse, pound. They're just solid stories. So Peter Boll, just as his one book, he continued to do stuff on and off, but he did a lot of work from 1944 through the 60s. So he kind of, he also did work on newspaper strips and such. So he, the inaugural issue is by him, the interiors and the cover, nice stuff. And then we get a vastly different style of Vengeance Squad, PAM. It's short for Pete, I don't remember his middle name, Morisi. He was a New York cop. He always wanted to be a cop and a comic book artist. So he did comics for a long time, and then he finally made the police force. He was very happy about that. But however, he was moonlighting as a comic artist. He couldn't tell the guys on the force and all that, because that's like I don't know, that breaks a union rule, or it does something like you're not allowed to, But he's got a really interesting style. He retired, by the way, in 1976 from the police force. So, but, can you imagine that? Going out there risking your life and, God knows what. There's really bad printing there. I wasn't eating an Oreo over it. And then coming home and then doing these kind of... it's like a Mission Impossible, but it's more like Mission Quite Possible. There's such an interesting stagnation that comes from the photo reference that he uses, that later on you would see this sort of literal work done with Paul Galassi, Tim Bradstreet, Steve Rude, Bill Sienkiewicz, Butch Geis, and Tony Harris. A lot of artists. So Gene Colan employed a lot of photos. He had a morgue file, which is when you just go through magazines and you pull out stuff you need for reference. If it's a background of a office, then you got it. And he had this interesting, just a real, how can I put it? Like I said, it's not pulse pounding, but it's enjoyable. It actually has a touch. I may be crazy, but it's sort of the way he spots blacks has a little hint of Alex Toth. Oh, here's the Mike Mauser backup strip, which I had shown you on the Mike Mauser episode. So he didn't have to do... Pete Morisi didn't have to do a full issue every month. He also created Peter Cannon Thunderbolt, and according to Wikipedia, it contains some of the earliest respectful innovations of East mysticism and pop culture. But he was just a very interesting guy, and he did comics, and he walked the beat. Anyway, I like the presentation. I mean, every image, it's not thrilling, but the way he presents it, his storytelling is really good. It is stiff, but that's, for some reason, I like it. And he's just one of those unsung heroes of comics. Maybe I shouldn't go that far. He's a very Clutch Cargo looking dude, huh? Okay, well, And there is more Mike Mauser, I covered before. And issue number 4, yeah. Well, yeah, Pete Morisi continued to do it for a few more issues under the pseudonym Pam. And Joe Gill, the writer, he's like he and somebody else and have been like claimed to be the best or the most proficient writers, prolific writers of comic books ever. And I think Chuck Dixon recently did beat that because, but I'm not just saying it because he's a pal, but I mean, if you look it up, he's always writing. When he was at DC, he did 4 books a month, and I'm sure Joe Gill did the same. It's just that, I don't know. And that's, some of the faces are reused a little bit. Like that's pretty neat there. Like a little more action. It's not easy. If you're doing like stagnant images and conversations, there's not a lot you can do. So, like Bowser, you might want to check that one out. Okay, Vengeance Squad. I have a copy of this as Charlton and also as Modern Comics, which was for some reason Charlton wanted to present some of these stories under a different name because they're just like all new. They're horror titles, which had Ditko and Pat Boyette and all these others. They got a really bad habit. They had like 8 ghost titles out, and they would reprint stories from earlier issues without telling the readers because they figured those readers, I mean, not a lot of people were collecting Charlton at the time. They're collecting DC and Marvel mostly. So that prompted the all new, like the all new interiors. And Marvel had to do that too for a while. They had to say like all new excitement, not a single reprint. But it's got a lot of charm to it. It really does. I'm wondering if that's Dick Giordano as a reference, because he was. No, that again, he did that in the 60s, 1960s. Giordano was there. So this is well past when he went to Marvel. DC. Listen to me. So it's good. I like the little framing devices he puts on there. Okay, and here's the. Did I even get to this one? Yeah, I did. Pardon me. I'm just a mess. I'm just a big old mess. Yeah, I showed that one. All right. Well, here's the last of them, and that's a great cover. And although the pastel blue, it really should have been like an electric color, like a hot orange or a red, and make this a different color, because that doesn't suggest immediacy of staring down a rifle. But and also he used his face on a cover earlier. Everybody, if you had a good reference and you don't overdo it, as far as using that reference, it's pretty cool. Well, that's nice. That he's really like, I don't want to say he's trying harder, but he's doing double lighting, which he doesn't do much until this time. And this is the sort of where you'd see the Bradstreets and the others go. That's so Clutch Cargo. But I mean, the simplicity of the faces, like that right there. I'm looking at Toth there. Think I'm full of baloney. I can leave your comments below. I won't disrespect any opinion that differs. Look at this. Charlton had such bad printing. Look at the bottom, the chops off the press. So, but I mean, I like the little, cameos with the cameo showing of the faces with the little patterns behind it. Just makes it. There we go. Well, I hope you kind of like this. You could get these like really cheap at a show, or or your comic shop might have them in the back issues. But another thing I want to talk about real quick is Pete Morisi. Also, he created Thunderbolt, and he wanted to get the rights to the original Daredevil, the one with the spiky belt and boomerang, half blue, half red, and it just didn't happen. So he couldn't get to it, the rights. So he created his own version, and the costume's pretty awful. But the story's interesting. That's where he really he employed a lot of the Eastern mysticism, such that he had read about, and it didn't really sell that well. It lasted maybe 10 issues. Repeatedly, DC has tried to bring it back. I think they brought it back in the early 90s, and in I think it was actually done in the late 80s, late 90s, and as recent as this from Dynamite. Much better costume, although you would never see these two next to each other. Maybe it's a little too different, but anyway, that's it. I hope you dug this, and there's some cool comics out there. Talk to you later.